I did that, and my back broke. Literally back broke. They told me I needed a 14-hour surgery. This was 6 weeks after my second knee replacement.
Sorry, this was during COVID?
Go in your pool in your backyard, put a brick over your head, tread water for 6 hours and 10 minutes, and then get out and tell me how you feel. I had written the book, Get Your Mind Right, and my mind wasn't right. Don't be afraid of hard work. No, like roll up your sleeves and get dirty, but you gotta build in some mellow yellow. You don't have to be a prisoner of your own story. I do believe that everyone's got something special in them. That's called your divine uniqueness. 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Up to 80% of those thoughts are negative. We're gonna change the story and the narrative you're telling yourself and start to live in a space that you're worthy and deserving of so that we can actually manifest the true potential that lies inside of you.
Episode 104, Stay Classy Podcast. Coach Todd Durkin on the show for the second time. Todd, how you doing?
Doing great, Steve. Thank you, brother.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, we had you on, I think it was about a year ago, almost exactly. Actually might have been a little over a year. I think it was February of 23, or 24 now. Forget, 25. We're in 25 right now. But since then you have not only, I read your book that you gave me.
Thank you.
And then I also, you gave me another book today, True Strength. So I already read Get Your Mind Right, but now you also have a new book coming out in a few weeks, right? Coaching Greatness. Tell us about that.
I do. I've been a writing fool, man. True Strength came out in May of 2024, and that was on the heels of a really challenging, tough time in my life personally and professionally. It started through the pandemic and lasted till mid-2023. And in True Strength, I depict really how my biggest burden became my biggest blessing. And it was a really dark time, and feel free to, I'm an open book. You can ask any questions you want. But through the pandemic and trying to put the fitness industry on my back and save the world and all the darkness that was going on, I was telling all the trainers, get on my back, get on my back.
Yeah.
And I did that, and my back broke. Literally back broke. They told me I needed a 14-hour surgery. This was 6 weeks after my second knee replacement.
Sorry, this was during COVID?
This is during COVID.
Like 2020?
2021.
Yeah. Wow.
I had my second knee replacement in late 2020, and then 6 weeks later, my back broke. And, as a coach and as a trainer, you really value your health like anyone else. But all of a sudden now, I was exhausted. I was burnt out from trying to save the world. I had my second knee replacement. My back breaks. They told me I needed a 14-hour surgery. I'm not sleeping at all. I can't even explain, or I couldn't explain at the time how bad I felt, how lost I felt. But I'm fighting the good fight, get up and do it every day and caffeinate up and go. And I was still training my athletes, and, they're like, yeah, man, you're in great coach mode, because frankly, coaching was the only thing that actually kept me alive.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the nutshell of what True Strength is about. And to cap that off, I never did have back surgery. Still haven't.
Okay.
Work out every day.
Is that a decision of yours, or did you make the conscious decision?
No, it wasn't a decision, because I needed surgery, and I was in excruciating pain to the point where I couldn't walk, I couldn't work out. I was in a really, really bad place, and I was ready to get my 14-hour surgery. I was weeks away from getting it done, and then my pain went away.
What do you attribute that
People
to?
always ask that, like, how did you do it? I can't really say how, because I did a lot. I mean, when you read the book, you'll see I did stem cells. I did every kind of modality you could possibly do: energy work, healing work, physical therapy. I couldn't do chiro because my back has a 37-degree curvature of the spine. I have no space left in my disc. I lost 2 inches of height. Some would call it divine healing. I had Pastor Miles McPherson, Pastor Jeremiah pray over my back. I was doing anything. When you're in pain, you'll do anything.
You'll do anything.
You'll do anything.
Desperate.
And my pain went away, and I put off surgery, and I've put it off now for 3.5 years. But to cap that off, my pain went away, and next thing I know, I go down, I see Dr. Gabrielle Lyon at this conference I was at, and she knew me, and she said, hey, Todd, you've got sleep apnea. I'm like, sleep apnea? What are you talking about? I have sleep apnea. That's like old guys. She's like, no. You got it. she goes, you got a 17.5-inch neck. She had me stick out my tongue, looked at my ears. She goes, Navy SEALs, a lot of the clients I work with and patients I work with are Navy SEALs in their 30s, and some of them have it too.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, what? Sure enough, I got diagnosed with sleep apnea.
What is that triggered by normally?
Well, normally, you typically have a thick neck, and your upper throat is going to get occluded while you're sleeping, and it cuts off your oxygen. You're not breathing at night. So basically, when I got tested at night, I stopped breathing 120 times in the 6 hours I slept that night. So for the 6 hours and 10 minutes I slept, I stopped breathing 120 times for between 20 and 52 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second, 120 times for 20 to 52 seconds. The doctor said, yeah, imagine this. Go in your pool in your backyard, put a brick over your head, tread water for 6 hours and 10 minutes, and then get out and tell me how you feel. And for the first time, I said, that's exactly how I feel.
You're like, oh shit.
I'm like, no, I was almost relieved.
Yeah.
I was almost relieved, like, finally someone figured this out. Like, that's been my overriding issue. Yes, I had knee replacement. Yes, my back is a mess. Doctor thought I was like, did you serve in Afghanistan? I'm like, no, I wish I could say I did. So I got diagnosed, and let me tell you, after getting the CPAP and doing all that stuff, for the first time, I got my health back, my vibrance back, my energy back, my mind back. And I had just written the book. I had written the book, Get Your Mind Right, and my mind wasn't right.
Yeah.
6 months after that, because of all of the combination.
When you were trying to take everything on you, right? And so I was going to ask you, because you said during COVID, you kind of tried to put the weight of the world, physically, mentally, spiritually on your back. Like, is there a point where, even as you're trying to be like exemplify leadership, the standards that you talk about in your book, but that you felt like you were pouring into everybody else, but sometimes people in that position, no one's pouring into them, and they're trying to pour from an empty cup at some point. And so you're exhausted, you're broken down, like you were talking about. Like, talk about, like, for kind of the A players like yourself, like, and some of the athletes you work with, how sometimes we can get carried away to a point where we're trying to pour from that empty cup, or we're trying to kind of save the world ourselves, without anybody pouring back into you. Like, what was that realization like?
Well, looking back, I was empty.
Yeah.
As empty gets. I was ready to be like, I'm retiring. I'm moving to Montana. Hey, I still love Montana, but I was ready to call it I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I had sold a big portion of my business because I'm like, I might die.
Fitness Quest 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, I might die. I don't seriously think, and this is over now a couple years, I'm like, I can't keep going. Like, so I got to get my stuff in line. And when you look back, it all makes sense, because I did so much soul searching during this time. And now I know, like, God was using me to get me from where I was, because before the pandemic, I was ready to make the next leap up, but life was good. It was comfortable. And I just wasn't ready to make that leap to that next level. And I was mired in, quote, success, and success had become almost like hitting the ceiling. Like, I couldn't break through the ceiling because I was successful and it was good. Life was good.
Sure.
So, but deep down, there was this whisper of like, you're not even tapping into your full potential. The outside world was feeding, oh man, you're doing great. You're working all these guys. But I'm like, there's another level that I'm not tapping into. And then, boom, the pandemic hits, and then all this other stuff hits. My body just failed. My mind was, when your body fails, your mind is being challenged. And I'm using all this stuff I had just written about and get your mind right.
Sorry for people who don't know, because we never really properly introed you, because you've already been on the show. But not only are you the founder of Fitness Quest 10, but you're also, you've coached Drew Brees, you've coached like so many high-level functional athletes, and all the books that you've written in the meantime. Like, you're doing like the jobs of 5 people in one man. So big shout out there. But also, like, I wanted to say, as far as the topic of burnout, because this is something that we've kind of explored in some recent episodes, because we've had on so many A players like yourself, but there's also this I would say sort of counterculture that I see beginning to build online, which is, sort of the pushback. So you have this like sort of hustle culture. You have a lot of like top players, entrepreneurs, telling people to work hard, which is great advice. But then you also have a sense where there's also the problem of burnout and hustle culture, kind of ruining young men. And, just basically, you work 100 hours a week, you can be like Elon Musk and, whatever, and have everything that you ever wanted. But there's also a real sense in which for a lot of people, burnout is a real problem. Fatigue and, being overworked, being, not having people pouring into you, not having any kind of support system. And especially as men, I think, right, like we get isolated. We're not vulnerable. We don't, share with our partners, our friends, like whoever's the people around us in our lives. So burnout is a real issue. Like talk about from your perspective, like, do you see sort of hustle culture as a sort of a problem for young men in terms of just like leading to burnout, leading to exhaustion, leading to mental, physical isolation, loneliness, or like, what's your perspective on the balance between sort of the, hard work ethic that you preach and sort of.
Enjoying this episode? Subscribe for more content on finding your own path to success. Every subscriber makes a huge difference to the pod, and we're grateful for everyone. And don't forget to throw us a classy like and comment too to let YouTube know that you're a fan of our stuff. Now back to your regularly scheduled podcasting.
The burnout issue.
So Steve, I've got a 22-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 17-year-old child. So I've got 3 children right in the middle of becoming young adults, right? They are young adults. And I coach a lot of folks in their 20s and 30s. Coach meaning in the weight room, and also I do life coaching with them. And I'm always like, you got to work your tail off. You do have to work hard. Yeah. I love the hustle culture, but not 7 days a week, 365 days a year. See, what happens is most people that want to get ahead, they think they're working hard, but they might not be working hard enough or smart enough to get to the next level, right? And part of that's being around the right people who can provide some wisdom. Been there, done that. I was on a call with a good colleague friend of mine this morning talking about franchising, things I'm involved in now, and the business side of how you structure deals and equity and like big high level conversation. But with these young men and women, I'm like, many of them don't even know what hard work means in the sense of what it takes to get to the next level.
Sure. They need to hear that. Yeah.
So like, don't be afraid of hard work. No, like roll up your sleeves and get dirty, but you got to build in some mellow yellow time, as I call it. Mellow yellow time is being able to turn off. See, hard work is great. All of us human beings, we need to work hard.
It's quintessential.
But we have to learn how to turn it off. And when I say turn it off, turn the phone off. Turn the distractions off so you can just be present with someone, whether it be your spouse, your kids, whether that be your colleague, or just yourself. You're going to be at the beach, you're going to go for a walk, and you're not on your phone the entire time, and you're so connected that you never disconnect, because it's the disconnection that allows your subconscious mind to dream big. You're in the mountains. For me, I love the mountains. Or if you're at the beach and you put your feet in the sand and like you can just clear your mind, like that dichotomy of hard work and turning it off is the key.
Well, man's meant to have a Sabbath, no?
Well, absolutely. I mean,
like literally and metaphorically.
Metaphorically and physically. But I say sprint, rest, sprint, rest, sprint, rest. As my great mentor friend Wayne Cotton told me many, many years ago when I was grinding 7 days a week, he said, Todd, if you keep going at this pace, you're going to be like your father who died of a heart attack at age 58. You just you're right now sprinting 7 days a week. You can't run as hard as you're running 7 days a week and work like you're working 7 days a week. Work like that 4 or 5 days a week, but take a week or two, a day or two off and build in your mellow yellow time. This is when you're in the mountains. That's the hard part for most people who want to get ahead is they're working hard, and they never get the time off where you're off. Like your phone is off. You're spending most of the day not on your phone, not on social media. And I love social media. I love all that stuff too. But you got to make sure that you can replenish and rejuvenate your own soul, and not just on the Sabbath day. I'm saying like where you can build in structured mellow yellow time all year so that you can sprint and you got the energy and the vitality and the focus to do great, meaningful work and then rest afterwards.
Yeah, so something I wanted to ask is in terms of, because obviously Coach Noah Phillips, big shout out to him too, and he's somebody who speaks very highly of you, but both of you have the same, not exactly the same because you're different people, but like a very similar energy, passion, enthusiasm approach to your coaching, to the gym, to just all these different areas of life, personally, professionally. But I want to know, because some people will see that and they'll be like, man, like, I wish I could be like, Todd or that guy. Like, but I'm just not like that, like, sorry, coach, but I'm someone could say, I'm a lethargic person, or, I'm depressed, or I'm unmotivated, but like that energy and passion, I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, I imagine that wasn't the case the moment you came out of the womb. Like tell us about, was that a very gradual build up to the level that people like you are at now? Or was it like a sort of a single moment for you that sort of galvanized, energized you for the rest of your life that you look back on? Or was it something that you've kind of already just been innately an enthusiastic, energetic person? Where did that come from? And more importantly, for somebody who says, that's just not me, I'm too lethargic, too depressed, too unmotivated, whatever, how can you get there?
Well, I'll share this. You don't have to be a prisoner of your own story. You don't have to be a prisoner of your own story. See, I'm the youngest of 8 kids. When I was young, my parents got divorced when I was 5 years old. I was the lunch ticket kid. So we didn't have any money. So part of who I am is where I come from. But that's also, I used my story growing up without a lot when I was growing up in New Jersey. I use that as part of my motivation today, is because I always say, don't forget who you are and where you come from. Don't forget who you are and where you come from, but where you're going doesn't need to be where you came from. Because right now, even in my young, tender age, and what I'm doing is I use that as motivation to say, how can you use however your DNA is, whatever your vibration is, whatever your personality is use it, but don't be a prisoner of where you came from, or I grew up poor, I don't deserve that, or the head trash that you constantly tell yourself. Is I use it now as a blessing. And I'm always like, where does God want me to go? And what is his plan for me? And how can I live with more obedience for his plan, not my plan? How do I live more in that plan, not my ego, saying my ego wants this, so how do I be obedient because my time on earth is limited? What can I do as a man of faith to say, I want to go deeper and deeper and deeper to do that? It's exactly what I'm doing now, Steve, with all my moves and everything that's happened. I'm like, this is all divine. I didn't choose it. I wouldn't have chosen it. I would not have chosen the route in the last 5 years I had to walk through to get to where I'm at today and where I'm going to be going in the next couple of years with everything with the franchise. But man, like, if you're someone that doesn't have what you see others have, that's the comparison game. And that's a dangerous game to play. Yeah, like, you got to be like, man, God built me special. I have gifts. And how do you proliferate your gifts, whatever those gifts are? Whether you're a speaker, you're backstage, whether you're a recorder, or you're filming video, you're filming podcasts, or you're front of stage. Like, I do believe that everyone's got something special in them. That's called your divine uniqueness. And when you can identify what your divine uniqueness is, I'm a mindset coach. Like everything I do, when I'm on stage speaking, I'm a mindset coach and a guy. That's why you mentioned Drew, or the Jordan Loves, who's the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, is with me now.
Jordan the other day.
I mean, those guys I think come not just for the physicality, the training part. They come for the mindset part, right? So I think you got to be authentically and unequivocally yourself. And when you can be comfortable in your own skin with who you are and where you came from, and use that. I used to be embarrassed about where I came from. Like, I had no money growing up. I didn't know. Even when I started to make a little bit of money early in my years, like, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm supposed to be making money. Like, I didn't know it. I never had money.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about somebody who you're probably familiar with. You ever heard of Greg Plitt, the bodybuilder, fitness guru guy, or? No, he passed away a few years ago. He's a great dude. But one of the things that he talks about, and he was a big motivational dude, kind of the early days of YouTube, early 2000s, before he passed away from got hit by a train or something filming a stunt. But one of the things that he's talked about is, like, when the greatest tragedy he talks about is not death. It's the person who lives what he calls the untold story, of where you sort of get older and older and older in your life, but you failed to act, you failed to realize what could have been, but knowing all the time in your head what you were capable of, but that you left it on the table. To him, he said that was his greatest fear, and that was the greatest tragedy of the human experience. It was not death, but failure to live to begin with. And I was thinking about sort of what you said, said, like the being a prisoner of your mind, and sort of to me, in my own life, actually, I found that it's like sort of the greatest the worry is like sort of like if you don't act, if you wait too long, if you don't pull that trigger, then you become that prisoner, right? You become a prisoner of sort of what could have been, and it's no one's like making you do these things, like you're not physically confined, but it's sort of this mental prison. Like talk about that perspective on sort of the that like long-term like tragedy of failing to act.
Yeah, I just literally got done talking about this. In my book, Get Your Mind Right, I talk about we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Up to 80% of those thoughts are negative. This is a human fact. This is science.
So we have about 80,000?
60 to 80,000 thoughts a day.
Out of how many? Or just
60 to 80,000 thoughts.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of
Up to 80% of those thoughts are negative. So here's the point. Is are you constantly telling yourself a negative story? Because if you can get in someone else's head, you'd be shocked some of the stories that people tell themselves, because you have no idea when you're walking around the grocery store, when you're walking around town, the stories people are saying. That's why I love working with kids, is because, man, growing up in today's day is not easy for anybody, let alone if you're trying to form your identity and you're 13 to 21 years old. And I mean, what you see on social media and everything else. So the stories get in your head. And when I was working on this retreat with all of our life coaches is, how do you rewire your brain? I want to know, how do we rewire our brain? How can you start getting more positive thoughts because of the dreams that you have, the visions that you have? Like, how do you start to rewire yourself and tell yourself a different story? Who you're surrounded by is a crucial aspect. Who's speaking life into you is a crucial aspect. What you're reading, what you're listening to, like this podcast right now, it's either feeding you or it's hurting you, right? Hopefully it's feeding you. But all of these things matter, because all of the thoughts that go into your head, you have to constantly be feeding your brain good stuff. Why do you think on the phone it's called the feed? It's feeding you something. And that whole industry, the iPhones and the phones, all that good stuff, that's feeding you a lot of negativity, a lot of garbage.
Yeah,
it's stuff that everything from, whether it be porn, whether it be mindless, stupid stuff. Like there's some
garbage out.
Exactly. And there's some good stuff in there, but you got to filter your feed, and sometimes you got to turn it off so you can feed yourself with the right people, the right messaging. And ultimately, when you get down to it, both men and women alike, you'd be shocked about what people tell themselves in the stories that sometimes they got to divorce themselves from so they can step into the best version of themselves. Everyone has greatness in them. Everyone's got greatness in them. That's why I just wrote the book called Coaching Greatness. Like, everyone's got greatness in them. How do you pull it out of people? And great coaches often believe in their people more than the people believe in themselves. Mm-hmm. So how do you get people believing in, I'm worth something special? I'm going to do something special with my life. I don't care if you're 63 years old. Like, how do I do something special with my life? Because the best is yet to come. Most people live in this abyss of darkness of, woe is me, or this is where I'm from, and this is da-da-da-da. I hear the stories over and over again. And part of my role as a coach, as a life coach, is no.
Story?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to change the story and the narrative you're telling yourself and start to live in a space that you're worthy and deserving of, so that we can actually manifest the true potential that lies inside of you.
And I was thinking, like, you talk about coaches bringing that out of someone. I mean, arguably the greatest fighter to ever do it, Mike Tyson. I mean, his coach, Castamiatu, can't remember how you say his last name. Amato. Yeah, like when you hear Mike talk about Gus, who passed away many decades ago, but just like he took this kid, this like 13, 14-year-old kid who's from the streets, had nothing, and that he saw something in him and just didn't give up on that to the day that he died. But like, and you could see Mike, in the interviews now, he gets so emotional even when he talks about it, because it's, people see who he is now and the legacy, but they don't see that kid, right? That there was that kid who didn't have the self-belief, but that someone else saw that. Like, from a coach's perspective, like you are from the coach's perspective, like, how do you draw that out of someone? How meaningful is that to you as well as the coach?
That's why I wrote the book.
That's why you do what you do.
Well, yeah, because
the answer, right?
Because the Coaching Greatness. Hey, listen, when I was writing the book, I had to make a decision a year and a half ago. I had two books in me. I didn't know which one that comes first. Coaching Greatness, because it really is my manifesto for the last 25 plus years of my work in the trenches, training people at my gym, Fitness Quest 10, and now Impact X Performance, my franchise. But a year and a half ago when I was making a decision, I'm like, I can't come out with Coaching Greatness and then True Strength, because True Strength is a memoir, and it's all of the stuff I went through, because True Strength and walking through that actually made me a better coach. It made me a better coach by going through that, because
to articulate the process yourself.
Well, because when you're down and out and you're on your knees and you're hurting physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, how do you recover and get up and become a champion again? Like all great movies and stories, there's always there's a climax and there's an up and there's a down.
There's a bottom.
There's a bottom. This was my bottom. And True Strength needed to come out first because that was the bottom. And when you think about it, I start the book out. The True Strength book is the crest of the wave determines the depth of the valley, and the depth of the valley determines the crest of the wave. The crest of the wave determines the crest of the valley, and the depth of the valley determines the crest of the wave. Like how high you are can be as how low you can go, and how low you are, there could be an equal rebound up to the height, because the more perspective and wisdom that you have from the valley, where's it always the most fruitful? In the valley. You got a lot of fruit in there. No one wants to walk through darkness.
No
one wants to be in pain.
It's so scary, so alone.
All of it. I walked through it for 3.5 years. So for me, it was like, I'm going to share True Strength first, and then I'm going to come out with my manifesto, Coaching Greatness, which again is coming out March 21st as we record this, because to me, this is my life's work. It's my manifesto with my 10 traits. And what I went to is, in all my years in coaching hundreds, if not thousands of other trainers and coaches, life coaches, I actually put 21 other coaches in there. I wrote my full book, and then I have 21 people who wrote a chapter. So you kind of got 2 books in one.
It's a gold mine.
And literally, like, I wrote the full book.
I get my pre-order right after we get off this interview.
Right. But you have 2 books in one, but it's my manifesto, and then you got, I believe firmly in the coaching tree, and that coaching tree is who I'm impacting, who maybe someday long after I'm gone, those people then go impact more people, because again, even with Impact X Performance, the fitness franchises, it's like, how do we be more of a lighthouse in a dark world?
Yeah, and I want to talk about Impact X in a minute, but just real quick about there was something that I was thinking about while you were talking in terms of sort of the unmotivated people, like sort of the lethargic, the depressed, like the people who are in that mental prison. So I think there's an important topic we got to explore here, which is, we live in a time where, correct me if you disagree, but I think we can all agree that for a lot of people, it's a very lonely time. It's a very, especially with mental health, and especially I think male mental health in this society, is at a very low point. We see depression, suicide rates are at all-time highs, but there's also just this sense, and you could read about it like anywhere it seems now, about the sort of this loneliness epidemic where we live, even as we're more interconnected virtually, a lot of people are living these very siloed off, sort of hollow existences, disconnected from the people that are right in front of them, right? And so especially with men, because men are, in my opinion, are worse relationally than women in general. So can you talk about like your thoughts on this idea of a loneliness epidemic, but also just the state of like sort of male mental health? Like as a coach, like I'm sure you interact with people all the time who are, and especially men who are unmotivated, who are depressed, who do not have any kind of self-belief or self-worth. Well, how do you approach that? But also like your thoughts on like sort of the larger issue.
Yeah, it's a big topic now. I get DMs every day in my Instagram from people who are in dark places because they'll read True Strength. They're like, holy, she's TD. Like, that's me. I'm there right now. I'm like, I get it. I was there. I was on the floor in Mexico in June of 2021. And I had a really dark time, which you read about. So I understand it now. That's what I was talking about. It makes me a better coach. I understand what it's like to walk through that. Listen, right now, this time that we're in, there are some dark times. It's why we as men especially cannot isolate ourselves. I think it's why the power of community is really important. Getting around other strong humans, whether it be men or women. I think men do need to have a good, strong base of other men around them, whether it be going to a men's retreat or having 3, 4, 5 men that you're working out with or going for a walk with. Like you need that camaraderie where you could be real with them too. Where you can actually talk about where you're struggling. I mean, men, because of our egos and identities.
It's probably right, the ego, the pride.
Right, and again, I talk about some of this here because it's something that can get in the way. And listen, we all have egos and we all want an identity, and that's a good thing. But when you are struggling and you are at a time of weakness, we many times don't even recognize how bad it is until after the fact when you look back and reflect, like, man, I was jacked up, right? Like you're going through, you're just trying to survive. Listen, True Strength, that was a hard book to write because I'm so raw in that. Like, to really share inner thoughts about, especially when the world can build you up.
Yeah. But
And
say,
then-
actually, I was feeling this
and
way
I'm
the
like,
whole time. Yeah,
I'm
it's
no
like-
different. Like,
Yeah.
I was down. It was a really hard book to write. But now what happened is so many people are reaching out with what you were just talking about, is whether it be teens, whether it be young men, women, people in their 50s that are like going through this second phase of life, trying to reinvent themselves, or they got laid off when they're in their 40s or 50s. I'm coaching several men right now who are very, quote, successful men, but something's missing. And they're missing something that they can't put a finger on, or they're not happy, or their relationships aren't intact, or they're not loving their wives the way they need to be loving their wives. So I'm doing a lot of coaching right now with that because, again, I've walked through it. And I'm always like this. When you're lost or when you're hurt, serve the person that you used to be.
Okay.
Serve the person you used to be. So that
What do
was
you mean
me.
by that? Like sort of the kid in you, or
No,
what?
no.
the-
Like, I walked through hell.
Yeah.
So now I'm helping people through hell.
Okay.
So if you used to, if you were in a certain phase of your life, you were used to be an athlete like I was an athlete. Help athletes. I've coached athletes my whole life. Still do. I coach athletes. Serve the person you used to be, or serve your deepest purpose. Like, when you serve the person you used to be, who were you 5 years ago, 10 years ago? How do you help the person that's at that phase of life right now? So right now, I'm helping two different types of people. The athlete that needs to break through and get to the next level, whether that be in the NFL or the Major League Baseball or UFC fighter, or whether that be a 53-year-old man who just lost his job making good money, but he feels so lost, so down, so depressed that life is like, he feels like he's got nothing left.
Well, on that note, I want to ask you, there's somebody that's very close to you that I'm sure you've had conversations about with this, Travis Barnes, who is one of the founders. He's one of the founders, right, of Impact X.
Co-founder, yeah.
And I mean, he has a powerful story. I mean, I read a little bit about it online, but for those of us who don't know, like, to say, and I know he's not here today, and I'd love to interview him, by the way, on the pod, but can you just like explain a little bit about some of the bullet points of his story and what went into you two founding that gym together after all the darkness he went through?
And by the way, he'd be a great guest on this show because he has
fun.
a heck of a story, And what I find is most people need a second chance in life. There's a lot of people who make mistakes. None of us are perfect, and some make bigger mistakes than others. But to Travis's point, Travis, it's an interesting story because I actually coached Travis for over a decade. Coached him in my mastermind group, coached him one-on-one. I helped him start a franchise called Journey 333 in 2017 and 2018 when it was founded. And he was always in my highest level mastermind group. And interesting enough, he came to one of my first retreats. And he said, hey, here's my book. Can you read my book? I said, absolutely, I would love to. Well, I've got a stack of about 25 books that I didn't get to the book by the time the retreat was coming up. So he's like, hey, did you read my book yet? I'm like, no, I haven't read the book yet. He's like, can you please read my book, page 27 through 29 tonight before we meet tomorrow?
Okay.
I said, sure. So I did. What I didn't know, despite me having coached him and him being just a standout fitness professional and man and well-liked and everything else, is that Travis served time in prison years ago.
10 years, right?
A decade.
That's a long time.
Incarcerated
That's a
for
long
a
time
decade.
to be behind bars.
I'm like, now all of a sudden, I felt horrible because I didn't know his whole story. And here I am, like, thinking about time. When you've lost 10 years of your life for anything, but when you're incarcerated, you have a different sense of time of how to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Like, I had a more profound respect for Travis after that because I had known him for several years. I've known him for over a decade now, almost 15 years. But it's interesting, a lot of the people who I work closely with all have had a second chance. Jeff Bristol, my business partner at Fitness Quest 10, he's had a hell of a story as well.
Yeah.
I've had multiple people that have been employees at Fitness Quest 10 and IXP who've been through hell and back. Some incarcerated, some been through drugs and alcohol, or their kids have been through stuff. Like, most people have a crazy story. And sometimes we all need a story of redemption.
Yes.
So
And
Travis,
those to me are the best stories.
right. So Travis, I coached him for 10 years. When True Strength came to fruition, when all of this came about and I got through 3.5 years of what I call hell, I said, you know what? I'm going to go back into fitness, and I'm going to go at a deeper level than I ever have before. See, Fitness Quest 10 is a one-stop shop, and it's a great stop. But I wanted to have more impact. So I said, I'm going to franchise this bad boy. I'm going to take everything I've learned in 25 years, and I want to pour into my franchise business owners and all over the country, all over America. Sure. I want to put lighthouses. So I started to share this with Travis, who had his Journey 333. It was a group training fitness facility. And I said, hey, Travis, I'm actually going to open a franchise, and it's going to have fitness. It's going to have recovery. We're going to put my life coaching program in there, and I'm going to put faith in there. Where faith, you don't have to be a faith to get Impact X Performance, or actually to even train at Impact X Performance. But the pillars, we're going to be foundational in that. He said, how about we join forces, and everything I've learned in the franchising world over the last 10 years, I'll run it. You be the visionary. I'll be the COO. I'll run the operations, all of the back end, so you can go out there and get on stages and do your thing. And that's what I do best. I love connecting with people, talking to people. I want to find 100 business owners who want to proliferate in their communities, both San Diego, LA, East Coast, Midwest. Yeah. And I want to find people who want to make an impact, do something big. And we're using fitness, we're using recovery, like cold plunges and saunas and massage and stretching and all of that, as well as our life coaching. And if someone wants faith, it's available.
Sure.
It's available. So that's the story of how Travis and I came together. It was just a year ago, a little less than a year ago, March of 2024, when we officially came together. It wasn't until May of 24.
That's when Impact X launched.
Impact X Performance. Well, it launched in May of 24. So we're not even at a year yet where it officially became public knowledge that, hey, we're running and gunning. We have 7 locations now.
So one in Huntington Beach, right?
Huntington Beach. And the rest are, we got 3 in New York, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Indiana, and California.
Mr. Worldwide over here, man.
Well, not yet. We're far from where we want to be, but we're growing. We're growing.
So I mean, because like I think about, and I've I have like a family friend who was locked up for a long time, but I think about people who have been incarcerated. Like, I imagine that there's a point where, sort of the light kind of goes out of your eyes. You sort of lose faith, lose track of time, that's another reason I want to interview him, because it's like, how does someone, people who've been through that kind of hell, it's like, how does someone like that even stay motivated in anything? Like, when you work with Travis, when you work with people like this, like, what kind of gives you, what about that kind of gives you hope? Like, what do you take from that kind of story?
Well, we all need hope.
Yeah.
We all need hope, and that's from a book I read many years ago, right? Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Great book. And it's about hope. It goes way back to the German concentration camps, and how every man and woman needs hope in their life. You have to believe that tomorrow is going to be better than today. And what is that vision that you have that's going to help you get there, and truly believe that you're going to get there? And from my conversations with the Travis Barnes and the Jeff Bristols and the many people who I work with who've been through some really dark times, makes my time seem easy. But when you're going through your own thing, it never seems easy, right?
All pain is pain.
Right. As Pastor Miles would say, though, everyone's always got something bigger than you, so stop feeling sorry for yourself, right? So, but I think that's one of the things that Travis would talk about on that is the hope that his wife Cindy never left him, and he's incarcerated for 10 years.
That's
I'm like,
powerful.
Yeah. I call her Saint Cindy, because I'm like, you actually stood by your husband's side for 10 years.
I don't know if I've ever even heard of something like that.
Yeah. I'm like, ooh, that's called commitment. So I have a lot of respect for people who've walked through tough times. I have a lot of friends who have been deeply involved with drugs and alcohol and have been clean now for years or decades, and I hear the stories and I'm like, my goodness, how did they get through it? right? How did you get through that? And now some of them are doing amazing things. Jeff Bristol's another one. Like he spent the better part of a decade in a really dark place on that. So to me, it's looking at the redemption story, and we all have some form of redemption story, whether it be big or small, but most people have been through something, and most people have something going on now. Like what I always say is everyone's got something. Everyone's got something going on. In big or small way, everyone's got something. So how as human beings can we even be more empathetic to the story that man or that woman has, thinking, man, I wonder what he's battling. And that's what I always say to myself when I'm on a plane or, when I'm speaking, I'll see 500 people out there. I'm like, I wonder how many people out there have something big going on. I'm like, probably every one of them. We all have got something. It might not be you. It might be your child. It might be your spouse. It might be your mom or your dad. Like everyone's got something, meaning we all know someone that's closely connected to us that has something. So how can I pick you up today? How can you pick up, somebody else and I'm going to the store, I'm at the gym, and I'm like, I could so easily be in my own world with the 50 things I got to do today versus when I'm so present right now in this podcast speaking to someone who needs life right now. Today.
Exactly. So I can't remember if it was Get Your Mind Right or if it was something else I was reading of yours, but you talk at some point about the concept of momentum and the importance of building momentum. Now, and the reason I bring that up is because we're talking often about not just A players like yourself, but people who are very, again, kind of at the other end of life where it's, they've been through the darkness. They're like, I don't even know how I can pick myself up. But trying to relate to someone like that for you, especially as a speaker, as a coach, like talk about the importance of what is momentum? Like, how do you even get momentum going? Like, what is professionally, relationally, like, if you're like, oh, I can't even get anything right. Like, how do you start? How do you get momentum?
You got to find something bigger than yourself.
Okay.
Got to find something bigger than yourself. Well, how do you find something bigger than yourself? You find someone, a coach, a colleague, someone on a podcast that you're like, this is my dude. Like, this is who I need to tap into. And you start believing that there is a better tomorrow. And how do you get Mo? I call it Uncle Mo. In sports world, we call it Uncle Mo. Momentum is start working out. Get your workouts in, because your workouts are going to change your life, because they're going to change your biochemistry will change your brain.
Literally rewires.
Yeah, I would say
scientific.
I always say, if you change your physiological state, you change your psychological state. If you want to change your psychological state, then change your physiological state. So you move your body. That's going to start to get you moving. You start listening to a podcast like this, Steve, when you're moving. I don't care if it's a walk, jog, run, you're lifting weights, but most days of the week, move your body. Listen to podcasts. Listen to coaches who are going to breathe life into you, and then start to read. Start to read, because reading, I'm not talking 15-second read stories or watch stories because it's too quick. Like, really sink into someone's life that maybe you relate to, you resonate with, a certain man or woman, and you're like, man, like she's been through a lot. I resonate with her story, her message, or a guy, you resonate with that message or story. Sink into that and go deep with those people, because I believe when you do that, you start to get some momentum going. You start to dream again. You start to remember, like, I'm worth something, and that worth becomes bigger and bigger. When you're around other dreamers, you start dreaming bigger.
Yeah.
You start dreaming bigger when you're around people like, hey, this is what we're doing, Steve. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have a team meeting on Monday, and people are like, really? I'm like, absolutely. Like, look at the people in this room. Like, we deserve this. The world deserves this. I look at IXP. I'm like, guys, we got 7 now. That's not good enough. We need 500 of these bad boys around the country, because we're lighthouses. We're positive. We're going to go do great things in the world. Now we need 100 to 500 great operators who are going to want to go change the world. And we got all the know-how in the system. So yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put the message out there, because not enough people know the message. So you're just stuck in the mundane thinking, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't know. When all around you, there's opportunity for you to step into it. But then fear steps in.
Fear.
And fear's like, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I got the money. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm smart enough. I don't know if I'm there. There goes the stories again. The 60 to 8,000 thoughts. You start thinking negative. You start thinking, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't have an education. All this stuff you tell yourself, which is a bunch of BS, belief systems, by the way.
I like that.
And it's belief systems.
Powerful.
How do you change your wiring of your head so you can believe what you need to believe to get you to where you want to go and step into a life that you're deserving of? That's biblical.
And once you have it, it's everything, right? Like, once you have, let's say, figure out that self-belief, like it's a commitment. Like, you're either all in or you're all out. But like once you have that belief, it just like it galvanizes everything, man.
Burn the boats. Like
burn the boat, burn the ships.
How do you gotta be all in, and that means be all in the life.
Yeah.
Like I come back to habits all the time as a coach, and I've had some great coaches in my life in the sport of football. Like you got to have your habits dialed in. It starts, if you want momentum, listen, you could listen to this podcast on repeat over and over and again. But if you ain't eating good, you're not working out, you're doing the stupid stuff, you're smoking and you're watching porn and everything else, like you ain't going to get to the next level by repeatedly doing the wrong thing. You got to have your habits dialed in. So get around people whose habits are dialed in, who have a mindset that is going to represent one that you would like, and then watch what happens. Your life starts to change.
Did you subscribe yet? If you like our content, it's the easiest way to support the pod. Hit the subscribe button on the bottom right and keep it classy.
And I was thinking, like, because you're talking about like surrounding yourself with those people, I was thinking, like, I've had, I've lived with different people, good roommates, bad roommates. But I was thinking of, I think it was my freshman year of college. I had a roommate who just, sat around playing video games all day. But I was thinking about, like, if I'm living with a guy like, let's say like you or like a Coach Noel, it's like, dude, that level of energy, that's like so infectious that bleeds into people, and I've tried to be that to the people in my circle, but it's like, that, because then the standard is so much higher, right? Like it changes the expectation. But one thing you talked about also, and I think it was in the Get Your Mind Right, but controlling like what you can control and not kind of putting other things aside, like sort of the focusing in on, and it's a very like stoic, like time honored, like classical thousands of years old advice, right? In terms of control what you can control, everything else you leave to the side. But like talk about how simple but how powerful that kind of line of thought is.
Yeah, I was talking about with Drew this past weekend about controlling the controllables. Controlling the controllables. We were talking about NFL football games and in preparation and visualization. You can control your preparation, your visualization for a football game, and you can really start to dial in. And one of the things that made Drew and a future Hall of Famer is because of his preparation and how he played the game, because he was so well prepared, visualized success, and played the game 1,000 times before he played the game on that, because of that mindset, again, of control the controllables. What I say all the time with that is, like, in your list of things to do today, what can you control? Because there's going to be things that you can't control. So I'm like, well, give the rest up to God and like just focus on what the calling is supposed to do and do good, serve.
And that doesn't mean it doesn't matter, but it means you're focusing on your mission, right? Like
absolutely.
Yeah.
But hopefully your mission is ordained from above, and you're doing it. You're leading a mission that you do believe is going to make the world a better place to be. And when you do that and you serve unequivocally, I believe when you can focus on the right things, because many of us, it gets overwhelming with the amount of stuff we got to do in a day. It's just, oh my gosh, if you look at the to-do list, it's like so much stuff. You're only going to get so much done because you have 24/7, is whether you have assistants or you got teammates or whatever that can help you. You got to be able to control the controllables, because every day you're going to get thrown curveballs every day that could throw you off track, and you end up worrying about things that, hey, most of the times, it's never as bad as it seems. My father told me many years ago, 90% of things that we worry about never happen. The other 10% we can't do anything about anyway, so why worry? I'm like, that's actually pretty good, but we spend a lot of time worrying, right? And you think about worry and fear, all these things that rob us of actually living and being present in the right now. Control the controllables, give the rest up to the big man up top, and typically you're going to live with more peace inside. You're gonna live with a little bit more fulfillment and joy, and not so much disharmony on the inside, or angst or anxiety because of so much going on, and you just can't do it all.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why that advice has been around for thousands of years, since Marcus Aurelius, one of my favorite philosophers. Meditations, great book, by the way. But I could do this for hours, man. But on our last few minutes, like the mastermind program, because we haven't talked about that. Tell people about the Todd Durkin mastermind program. Like, give us the pitch.
Really, yeah. The mastermind program is, if you're a high performer, you could be a coach, or you could be just a mom or dad looking to get to the next level the Todd Durkin High Performance Mastermind Group. We've had it for 17 years, actually, Steve. 17 years.
I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, it's been the last few years since True Strength has been awesome because the people coming in are people who are looking to get to the next level. They're stuck, or they used to have the mojo and they're missing their mojo. They want their mojo back. And I've got a whole system inside there between our monthly calls, monthly huddles. We've got, a whole content-based system that I deliver. We have live events twice a year that people can come to. One's going to be in Montana in November, which I love Montana.
I love Montana. I'll try to make it out for that.
Please do. I will. It's a great, great time. And we've got ones in San Diego here. But just if they go to ToddDurkin.com, the mastermind group, all the information's there. And it's relatively inexpensive when you look at it. I know mastermind groups. It's a community of great people who want to do good in the world, but looking to get their mojo back and do great things.
Yeah, and your social is at Todd Durkin, right? Because a lot of your content's on there, and that's how I keep in touch with a lot of the stuff you're doing. But hey, Todd, thanks so much for coming on. If you people want to get your mind right, I'd recommend reading True Strength in addition to How to Get Your Mind Right, which was the book that I read before this that you gave me last time. So thanks for a new copy, keeping me posted every time we do this. But and then the last book, Coaching Greatness, or the next book is coming out in March
21st. And I'm excited about that because what we're trying to do, even at Impact X Performance, is we're coaching greatness. And you don't have to be at what I call IXP, Impact X Performance. You don't have to be at an IXP performance, or you don't have to have one to get the benefits of coaching. You could do it in the mastermind. Someone could just contact me through Instagram or through my email. We'll put it in the show notes. Reach out to me. We just certified 20 more life coaches this past weekend.
That's incredible.
And we now have 65 impact life coaches, all ages. And these people now are going in and doing life coaching to clients that are coming in that I can't work with personally all the time. And I believe that the world, I think everyone needs a coach. I have a coach. I believe everyone needs a coach. I believe we're going to start seeing, and this is a vision, we're going to start seeing coaching in college, like life coaching as a degree, as a major. I'm going to be pushing, I believe that impact life coaching should be a major in colleges. I do believe that you're going to see them in businesses, in the corporate world, because a lot of employees are jacked up and they need help. You can only go as far as you grow. If I can help an employee be more successful, then they can actually go do better for the company, make it more profitable. So between the sports world, between the CEO world, between the coaching world, we now have 65 life coaches. Every September, we have a new cohort start, but that's not just at Impact X Performance. That's if anyone around the world wants to get more involved. We've got solutions now to help people.
And I think you're going to spearhead that movement. I think you are going to spearhead that.
I got a vision. And again, that all came from being the depths of despair. That all came from divine wisdom of saying, okay, young man, we're going to take this and we're going to go into college and universities. We're going to help young people get really good clarity and direction of where they're going, and help not only young people, but people, again, back to it, in their 50s who say, man, the best is yet to come. I got a guy who's 70 years old who he's like, this next decade, and he's extremely, quote, successful. He's like, this next decade is going to be my most fruitful and significant decade to date.
It's all possible, man.
It's all possible.
True Strength, Coaching Greatness. Hey, Todd, thanks so much for coming on the program, man.
Thank you,
do
brother.
it again. Let's make it an annual show.
I love it. Thank you.
All right, awesome. That's a wrap, guys. This has been another recorded episode of Stay Classy Podcast with your host, Steve Wire. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, you can find all of our content at our website at stayclassypod.com. And thanks to our production sponsor and partner, MaxLux Media. You can find them at maxluxmedia.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Every subscription helps and goes a long way towards ensuring that we can continue to produce content for viewers like yourself. Thanks so much. Stay classy.